Dobrodošli u novi video na YouTube kanalu Polovnih automobila. U ovoj epizodi sa nama je zastava Jugo. Za Jugo bismo mogli da kažemo da je u novije vreme motorizovao našu naciju. Prvo je ta uloga pripadala naravno Fići i uz Fiću ovo je jedna od tih ikona po kojima pamtimo našu nekadašnju državu. Ipak ovo nije bilo koji Jugo, neki od vas ga možda sada već i prepoznaju. Ovo Jugo ste mogli da vidite u mnogim video uradcima koje je snimio naš današnji gost, Justus. Amerikanac!
Dobar dan, pozdrav, čao, kako si?
Dobro, kako si ti? Welcome!
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, this is not our standard test. We're going to talk about your famous car. We're going to talk about yourself. But I have one question for the start.
What's that?
Can I drive?
Be my guest.
Thank you. Yeah, you can feel it that this is a bit different, but we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But this is similar to a feeling which I'm missing for already 20 years. So, Justus, tell us, how did you end up in Serbia?
Well, it started with the Yugo. Not this specific Yugo, but the Yugo as a car in general. I'm a big car guy, and I made videos on TikTok about cars. And I was working at the time in the military, but my side gig was I was buying cars and fixing them and selling them for a profit.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to buy a Yugo, and so I made a video about it on TikTok about how I wanted to buy one. And it went viral in ex-Yugoslav countries. And I couldn't even point to Serbia on a map, at the time. I didn't really know much about where the car came from.
Uh-huh.
But then I made another video about the Yugo, and it went viral over here. I made another one, and went viral again, and another one, and it went viral. And then that spun off into singing Serbian and Balkan songs and making the local food. And then I got invited to Slovenia, and then I got invited to Croatia, and then I got invited to Serbia. And now here I am. And now I live here. And I own a Yugo, finally. I couldn't find one in the United States. That was one of the reasons I wanted to make videos about upgrading it and about living with it and what that was like, but I couldn't find one. And so I had to move to Serbia to buy a Yugo. So
okay.
I am here for this car.
So this is the main star. It's
Yeah.
not me or you. The main star is Jugo.
The main star is the car, and it's always been the car, honestly.
Okay.
That's the first thing anybody always asks me when I see strangers always call out to me, Amerikanec, where is Yugo? And the answer to that is usually, it's parked outside. I drive it all the time.
So this is your daily driver. And
This is my daily driver.
And this is like your wingman. So if you're Batman, this is your Robin, right?
Yes.
Okay. What surprised you the most about our people when
All
you moved here? And can you tell any differences between Slovenians, Croatians, Serbian, Bosnians?
I think that the quality of the driver is based on the quality of the roads and of the urban planning.
Okay.
And so if you were to ask me who are the worst drivers, I have the worst experience with Zagreb drivers, actually. But the urban planning is maybe a little better in Zagreb.
Uh-huh.
But in Belgrade, I drive so little because I'm so afraid to drive and get creamed by somebody that I don't know, whether it's Zagreb, whether it's Belgrade, whether it's Sarajevo, these big cities are just not built for cars. And I am shocked at how terrible the drivers are, but I think they're just a product of the roads that they drive on, honestly. And do I have a solution to fix it? Do I think that there's any way to do it better? No.
No, okay.
I have no idea. I think this is just the life. This is the life you have to live. In South Dakota, where I'm from, getting a driver's license is easy. You get a driver's license at age 14, And the test is you take 2 left turns and 2 right turns. Boom, here's your license. That's it. You don't need any driver hours beforehand. It costs $30, and that's it.
Wow.
License time.
You just go to the DMV and say, hi, I'm the guy.
Yep, hi, I'm the guy. No, you don't need an appointment or anything. You just show up and you go, I would like to take a driver's license test today.
And it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter whether you have the car. You can borrow a car or you can rent a car.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you use your own car for the test.
Okay.
But that's another thing. Like, you guys have a special test for automatic and manual drivers. It's a different test. Not in America.
Yeah.
And licenses for different sizes of cars or whatever. It's like, no. If it's a car, it's a car.
So there is just the car and the truck, and that's it.
And our drivers are better in South Dakota than in Belgrade or in Zagreb or in Sarajevo.
We're going to have to do the challenge. We're going to have to do the challenge.
Well,
and to see whether people from the Balkan area concur or do not concur.
Listen, I think we're a product of our road conditions because there's not so many cars in South Dakota. The traffic is very light. The parking is plentiful.
Okay.
And so you don't really have to be such a good driver. But as a South Dakota driver, you stick me in Belgrade, and I'm probably the biggest idiot of all. You know, everybody here is like, "Who's this idiot in the Yugo?"
Because there's
who doesn't know how to drive.
There's too much cars. There's the streets are so narrow.
I'm just not used to it.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm 24. I have 10 years of driving experience.
Wow.
I have more driving experience than most people here in Europe.
Yeah.
And I've owned more cars than most people here in Europe. I've owned 15 cars, you know.
Speaking of which, what was your first car? Because I want to talk about the dimensions of this car. So what was your first car when you got your driver's license?
Well, my first car, everybody always asks me how I learned to drive a manual transmission, a stick. But my first car was a manual transmission when I was 14.
Well, that's so strange for the States.
And it was a funky car. It was a Saturn.
Okay.
And it was basically just a big General Motors SUV with a stick shift. And I paid $300 for it because somebody got in an accident with it. They hit a deer.
Oh.
And all the airbags deployed, and it really messed up its face. And it was a stick, and nobody knows how to drive a stick in the United States.
Well, quite rare. So it was somebody hit a deer, and you said, "Oh dear,
yeah.
I gotta buy it."
Yeah.
Okay. In regards to the size, because the first car was SUV.
Yep.
And you just talked about how in South Dakota there's not so many drivers, but in general, the cars in the U.S. are so bigger. The roads are wider. For instance, this Yugo, as we know, it is 3.4 meters in length. The width is 1.5 meters, and the height is 1.40, and the wheelbase is just 2 meters and 15 centimeters. So this is quite a small car.
Super small.
Super small car, even in regards to other cars around us. So. How do you feel when you sit in Yugo and you drive it in our streets, besides the fact that there is traffic jamming, and then you are in one of the smallest cars in between all these other cars?
I love it. I love small cars. The car I owned for the longest time, actually, in my time in the Army, was a cabriolet Suzuki Swift.
Whoa.
From the early 90s. And you guys have Suzuki Swifts here.
Yeah, we do.
And mine was bright pink.
Oh.
And I got it for free. because it had a blown up motor. And I put a new motor in it because I'm a mechanic.
So you love challenges.
I love challenges. And so that car, my little pink Suzuki Swift, it was actually maybe even smaller than this Yugo is. Going from SUVs and big, sedans, I had a Dodge Charger, and that car is huge. That's a boat.
Big.
And I went from the Charger to the Suzuki Swift, and it felt liberating, freeing. Well, listen, and so when I came here and I drove a Yugo for the first time, it really reminded me a lot of that Suzuki Swift. Power-wise, the way it shifted, the way it handled, very similar, honestly.
So we have almost like a Japanese car.
Well, what's funny is that the Yugo in the United States was always kind of a punching bag for all of the car enthusiasts to beat up on about how terrible it was and how bad it was and whatever. And then when that car went out of production because of the war, the car that took its place was a Suzuki Swift.
Yeah, because the smallest
it was
one...
a similar price point, similar power.
Oh, here's another Yugo.
There's another Yugo. Well, it's not a surprising sight here in Serbia. With this car, we drove it more than 50,000 kilometers. We drove it all the way to France, through Switzerland, everywhere. And we've taken it from Ljubljana to Belgrade 20 times back and forth. I mean, just an absurd amount, just in a year. And it has never left us stranded. Things break, but it's usually little things, plastic things. The window's not going to roll up. The radio stopped working. The buttons stopped working.
And the mechanic...
but the mechanically solid, really
so,
solid.
Yeah,
it
because
always
it's so
shifts.
basic.
It starts every time. Never have I gotten in this car and it hasn't started. Every time it will start.
Okay, so maybe now is the time to talk about modifications, because this is not average standard Yugo. What this was Yugo 55, right?
Yes.
With 55 horsepower.
Yes.
Nobody, I believe, ever measured how long does it take from 0 to 60 in a regular Yugo. But I believe it's like a century or so.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we have now? What are the modifications you did on this Yugo of yours?
Well,
because I can feel it rides different, it sounds different, it goes different.
Yeah.
It's much more punchier than it should be. So what do we have under the hood, and what are the modifications you did?
Well, I've done quite a lot of modifications to this car. It's basically, we're actually talking about like the ship of Theseus. If you replace so many parts, is it even the same car? And the truth is, this is not the same car that it was when I bought it and when I put all those kilometers on it. I was completely stock for most of its life, but just a month and a half ago, I decided to go all in, and we put a different motor in it, a 1.6 Lancia motor with about 100 horsepower.
Okay. So you doubled
the horsepower.
Okay.
We put a bunch of chassis braces on it on all four corners and under the hood between the shock towers.
Okay.
We
did something to the
shifter. We upgraded the shifter, so now it shifts much tighter, much smoother.
Okay.
We put new shocks on it and a new leaf spring, so the car is now lower and stiffer.
Yeah, you can see it by the stance that it's a bit lower than
Yep.
than the regular.
So basically, this car we didn't change the brakes, so the brakes are the same. But ultimately, the car is stiffer, it handles better, it shifts better, and it's faster. But it still has the general essence of the Yugo. We don't plan on changing its appearance at all, and we don't plan on changing the interior at all, because we want the Yugo to still be a Yugo, but we drive it too much for it to be as terrible as it is.
So actually these upgrades are just for the better driving experience.
Yes,
it's not you're going for the races.
And the person who I bought the modifications from, it's a guy up in Vojvodina. He goes by Boy Racer, and he just kind of makes these in his garage. I found him on Instagram.
Okay.
And I was talking to him about what kind of upgrades, and he basically said, well, what do you want to do with the car? And I said, I just want this car to be my daily driver. I just want it to keep up with traffic and to be pleasant to drive rather than a chore. It's a fun novelty at first, but every single day it starts to wear on you.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, we'll put you somewhere in the middle. Like, I could give you the super racy shift kit. Could give you the super racy stiff suspension, or...
But then you wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah, but then it would be a race car, and I don't want a race car. Yeah. And so now this car is modern. It's maybe still a little loud in here, but we're working on that.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, and talking about the handling, I can feel it that it's stiffer, and old Yugo would lean in the corner, and then he would bounce back.
Yes.
Now when we're in the corner like here, we seem to have a bit stiffer feel, and it holds to the road like it should.
It really does. It holds super well. It's genuinely amazing. Oh, the other thing is we in Slovenia we had a custom exhaust put on it by these guys, Logorsan Exhaust. I found them on Instagram as well.
Okay.
And they make custom exhaust for literally any car you bring to them. And so we brought them this car, and they built the exhaust from scratch.
So it's from Slovenia, but not a Krapovic?
From Slovenia, but not a Krapovic. But a Krapovic wouldn't... Punch it! Woo! Oh,
Our
jeez.
sound guy is gonna love this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome to Belgrade.
Yeah.
You know, I bought a Tomos moped as well. Tomos automatic.
You're quite a Yugo nostalgic guy.
Well, I have a soft spot for broken things, and I think that kind of comes from maybe growing up kind of poor, right? Is the only thing you can afford is things that are broken. But here's the thing: I don't want to buy something cheap. I want to buy something nice. So you buy a nice broken thing, and then you fix it.
Okay.
And so I've always kind of liked
To fix things.
To fix things, and so I bought this this Tomos, and I drove it through Belgrade, and it was terrifying because nobody has any respect for a vehicle like that. People are turning into me, they're pushing me out of my lane.
When you drive a motor in the motorcycle in Belgrade, you need to have the loud exhaust.
Yeah, well, I felt like I was going to get killed because everybody's turning into me. Nobody sees me. It's just.
You're invisible.
I try to honk the horn. Beep beep beep.
Yeah, you need to have the loud exhaust in order to have them notice you before.
Because this is not the only Zastava I own.
What else do you own?
I also own a Zastava 1500 truck from the early 80s, which was converted into a camper by the company Adria.
Wow.
So you see these Adria caravans all over Serbia, from Yugoslavia, from Slovenia.
Yeah.
And they made a prototype where they turned a Zastava into a motorhome.
A mini RV.
Yeah, like an RV. And so I own that. And I did the heart transplant on that. And I also own a Ficha Combi. That's something you can almost not find anymore in Serbia because they are all in Germany. Yeah.
or after refurbishing, bought and exported.
It's a piece of work. I did a heart transplant on that one too. All of my Zastava vehicles have now gotten new engines.
Okay, so this is our first, but not the last video.
Yeah, and I also own a Yugo Florida.
Oh, great! Which year?
And it's not great. It's a 2006. And you know what we did? This will be the first video I reveal this, but I've owned two Yugo Floridas.
Okay.
I bought the first one, a Yugo Florida business class, which was a 1.3. Okay. And the rust was so bad that it basically folded in half.
Oh.
I paid 500 euros for it, and it basically...
So that business went down?
That business went bankrupt.
Went bankrupt, okay.
And so, but I bought a second one that was much newer from 2006 with the Peugeot motor. But man, those cars are ugly. Since they got the facelift, they look terrible. And so what we did is we took our Florida business and took all of the body panels off of it and put it on the newer car.
Okay.
And so now it looks as if it was the same car. So nobody knows that I actually bought two Floridas. It's kind of like you have a kid and their goldfish dies while they're at school, and so you go to the pet store and you buy a new one and swap them out, so the kid doesn't know.
Okay.
And that's kind of what we did. With the Florida.
So you like playing with cars, definitely, and you like fixing things.
Yes.
Some of them are unfixable.
Yes.
Talking about Florida, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our first video, but now when I know this, most probably this won't be the last.
Yeah.
Because we want to see all this.
Well, and we'll see. What do you guys think as the audience? Would you like to see my other cars? Would you like to see an in-depth review of what those are like and what's in it? Comment below. Let us know.
Like, share, and subscribe. Okay, so let's go back to where we started. Thank you for this opportunity. I really enjoying this car, even though this is not original Yugo.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, the things you changed made it be more interesting to drive.
Yeah, it's much better this way. And thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and I'm happy you can get to drive it. I mean, so many people have driven this Yugo of all walks of life. We're working with a guy, who's a business owner. He's a multi-millionaire, and he goes, "Can I drive the Yugo?"
I just want to feel it.
Yeah.
I just want to feel it for
I just want to feel
once
it
again.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you once again. Nadam se da ste uživali, mi se vidimo svakako na ovom istom mestu sa nekim drugim automobilom ili nekim drugim gostom, a umeđu vremenu ne zaboravite.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you.